Philadelphia got some great injury news ahead of the Broncos game that will hopefully make Jalen Hurts' life a lot easier on Sunday. As A.J. Brown gets called out by the Broncos' top corner, Philadelphia's O-line changes up their plan of attack for the Denver pass rush, and Vic Fangio faces a very difficult decision as he prepares to take on his former team. I'm Thomas Mott, this is The Thomas Mott Show. It's been 8 years now since the Denver Broncos visited Lincoln Financial Field for an out-of-conference showdown with the Birds. As back in 2017, the then 8-1 Eagles, led by Carson Wentz, dropped 52 points on Brock Osweiler's Broncos to surge to 8-1, what would eventually end up as a Super Bowl season for Philadelphia. Now, fast forward back to the future, 8 years later, and we have two completely different teams facing off once again in the city of brotherly love. And the injuries, first off, look solid for both teams, but that's actually going to make things a little bit more difficult for Vic Fangio and the Birds defense. Also, as promised, the winner of the Jordan Spector Art Jalen Hurts picture is announced at the end of today's video, so stay tuned to see if you won. And as usual, if you drop a like and correctly predict the final touchdown score from this game on Sunday, plus the Birds win, I'll randomly draw one of you with the right prediction to win yet another one of Jalen Hurts' pieces on our live stream tomorrow. Okay, now, injuries first. And after a very scary week for Philadelphia, which saw Dallas Goedert miss Wednesday's practice with a knee issue and other key starters limited with various ailments, the Birds' final Friday practice was as good as it gets, with Jalen Carter, Lane Johnson, Dallas Goedert, Adoree Jackson, and Grant Calcaterra all out there and all will play on Sunday. Sadly, though, Nakobe Dean did practice as well, but he is officially not going to suit up this weekend following his activation from the PUP list, as Dean posted this photo on Instagram this Friday with the caption, quote, "won't be activated this week." And I'm starting to wonder if Dean is actually going to go ahead and play next Thursday as well against the New York Giants. I think he misses the next two games mainly because it is a very short week. They want to slowly work him back. And the expectation is the Vikings game, 3 games from now, is when Dean will officially be activated to actually play. And then, of course, the decision on where you play him, how much you play him, that'll all come later. Either way, though, Dean will return. This is not any sort of setback on that knee, just another step in a very long timeline to finally get him back on the field. Stay tuned. Moving on to people actually back on the field this week, and as I mentioned, cornerback Adoree Jackson, who sat out Sunday's win over Tampa with a groin injury, he is being cleared, he has practiced, and he will play. The problem, though, is that Kelee Ringo is also healthy and did play very, very well last week. Some would argue he was better last week versus the Bucs than Adoree Jackson has been at all the first few weeks of the season, and so what is Vic Fangio going to do? It's going to be a very tight call. Plus, honestly, nobody knows. There's been zero indication all week long inside Philadelphia on who will actually start at corner opposite of Quinyon Mitchell. I'm going to bet it's Kelee Ringo just because that was the original plan entering the offseason, but really, we got to sit back and wait till Sunday morning. Either way, it's good that the cornerback depth is back, and if Kelee Ringo can hold this job, that is really good news for the Birds. Also worth watching heading into Sunday is the continued health of Jalen Carter, and that shoulder injury, which has been no secret, it's definitely bothering him the past 4 weeks, as he's often missed snaps at times on defense due to what Birds are calling flare-ups in said shoulder. Something Carter detailed during his media session late this week that, yeah, it's bothering him, but what are you going to do?
Everybody got injuries, depending on if it's small or if it's big. But, when the right time comes, if I need to stop and take a little break to work more on my shoulder, that time is going to come. But as of right now, I feel good enough to play. That's what's going to happen.
We have not seen a dominant 2024 peak version of Jalen Carter so far through 4 games this season, and I'm 99% sure it's because of that shoulder issue, because the film actually shows he tries really hard on some plays, and other plays he basically takes it off, and I think that's because the shoulder actually flares up. I'm sure he's getting all the medication and treatment possible. It sounds like he's fine, obviously going to play this weekend, but it could be something that lingers the entire year or just takes a few more weeks to heal. Either way, keep an eye on Jalen Carter. They're going to need him on Sunday versus Denver. Of course, flipping over to Denver and their injury concerns, they actually received, like Philadelphia, a clean bill of health, as the only real issue that they had this week was an injury for reported left guard Quinn Miners, who missed Thursday's practice with an illness, but on Friday and Saturday, head coach Sean McVay confirmed he will be fine and he will be out there. Now, of course, injuries aside, many are calling this Broncos team one of the most difficult matchups the Birds will face through the entire first half of the season, which honestly is a little bit hard to believe, at least at first, since the Birds already defeated Dak and the now high-powered Cowboys offense week 1, Reed, Mahomes, and Spagnuolo in week 2, the vaunted Rams week 3, we always thought that was going to be tough, and of course, the historically difficult Bucs this past week. But Denver has something that none of these 4 teams have had: elite play from both their offensive and defensive lines through 4 games. Don't believe me? Well, number 1 ranked offensive line, for example, through 4 weeks this year, it's not Philadelphia and it's not the Buffalo Bills, it's the Denver Broncos, who last week surrendered just 6 pressures and 0 sacks on 45 pass plays against Trey Hendrickson and the Bengals, and currently boasts the highest graded left tackle in the entire league this year in Garrett Bowles. And as we know, Philadelphia's defensive line, they've gotten some pressures this year, but sacks have been an issue. And so if you're hoping for this is the week they're going to sack Bo Nix 5 or 6 times, they might, but this is a very tough test for Jalen Hunt, Zadarius Smith, and the rest of the Bird defensive line. And of course, pair Denver's pass blocking abilities with a blossoming rushing attack that just had their first 100-yard running back since 2022, if you believe that. And Jalen Carter knows the Birds defensive line must first stop the run so they can earn the right to rush the quarterback and hopefully generate those all-important sacks.
They're a good team. They like to run the ball, and every defense's main goal is to stop the run. So, that's the main goal for us. And, we stop the run, the offense get a run, put some points on the board. It's time to throw the ball now, and then we can have some fun with that. But the main goal is to stop the run.
I'm also very curious how Philadelphia's secondary decides to defend the Broncos' pass-catching duo of Courtland Sutton and Troy Franklin, both of whom are tied for the team lead in targets and have emerged as two great, yet I'd still say underrated pass catchers in the NFL. Philadelphia has made Quinyon Mitchell shadow each opposing team's best receiver, to great effect I might add, the first 4 weeks, but will Sutton warrant that, or will they simply keep Q on one side of the field to lock down his end? Either way, I do think Philadelphia's edge is that they should be able to create turnovers, as the main reason why Denver's offense has stalled at times this year and why they're 2-2 is because the quarterback Bo Nix has thrown 4 very costly interceptions. Still, though, it is clear that Fangio's sermon to his defense this week, when it comes to Denver's quarterback, has been the same basically as it was this past week versus the Bucs, as the former Bronco head coach sees a lot of Baker Mayfield in the Mile High City's latest signal caller.
Well, you just watch Mayfield. I mean, he's a scrambler. He's a competitor. He'll throw the ball in tight places. He runs their offense really well. I think Sean's done a great job bringing him along. And they got their quarterback for the future.
Bo Nix, I think he's like a Baker Mayfield Jr. a little bit. He's a guy that likes to just do a lot of different things, like to scramble, whenever he's in trouble or whenever, he can't find anything. They have great backs over there, great tight ends, great O-line. It's going to be a great game to, just go out there and compete.
If Philadelphia can shut down J.K. Dobbins and R.J. Harvey early in this game, get a lead, and then rush the passer, Bo Nix will give you interceptions. He will turn the football over. And Philadelphia's defense, they've done a lot of things great this year, but takeaways have definitely been at the top. Of course, though, the Birds' defense, it really hasn't been a major problem. I'm not too worried about them this year, as all eyes, once again, are going to shift to Philadelphia's offense, who's embodied a hot and cold model that even Katy Perry would be impressed with. And sadly, though, this Denver defense is not what the doctor ordered in terms of a quote-unquote easy test. Besides a 29-28 loss to the Colts, behind a huge Jonathan Taylor day, I might add, Denver's defense has failed to surrender more than 23 points all year long, large in part to a defensive line that boasts 2 elite pass rushers, including Nick Bonitto, who by himself has nearly the same amount of quarterback pressures as Jalen Hunt, Zach Bond, and Jalen Carter combined.
They got great players. It's a great team, a well-coached team. Got great players on defense, very disruptive group. Obviously, defensive player of the year last year, and Pat. Nick has always been able to get to the ball since our days at Oklahoma, and they got a hell of a defense, and it'll be another tough challenge for us.
And Philadelphia's offensive line knows it's struggled so far this season and must improve quickly, not just to protect Jalen Hurts on Sunday, but to finally create running lanes for Saquon Barkley and kickstart the sleepwalking Birds rushing attack. And it sounds like, at least internally, the emphasis from the front 5 this week has been efficiency and controlling what they can control before the ball is even snapped.
Just control what I can control. I can't control the narrative. I can control my effort and my energy and what I put in every day, and I can't worry about everything as a whole. Like we say, like getting in and out of the huddle for the offense, O-line. That's what we can control. We can't control what the play is or how it gets called or what time we get it. We can just control what we can control. And, I think guys are doing a good job this week. It's just everybody being a little more tempo and pace and more detailed and trying to have things be a little more crisp.
I've said this for 4 straight weeks. Philadelphia must get Saquon Barkley going. It's nuts he does not have a 100-yard rushing game. Still, though, Saquon aside, all eyes are going to be on A.J. Brown, Kemba Tulo, and the passing attack. And this week's matchup versus the Denver Broncos, again, it's not a very good one. A.J. Brown is fresh off his 2-catch, 7-yard performance versus the Bucs, and then the subsequent media firestorm, which we've talked about a little too much this week. And now, Brown of all people knows what's ahead for Sunday, as he's not tasked with a matchup likely all game long against the cornerback he ranked as number 1 overall in the entire league earlier this offseason.
A.J. Brown's top 5 corners.
My number 1 corner in the league right now is Patrick Surtain.
I'm excited for that matchup.
And Patrick Surtain knows that he's up against a very good wide receiver in A.J. Brown, but he sounds up to the challenge and is pretty darn excited to make sure the Eagles' passing game woes continue, at least in his words, earlier this week.
I mean, if they frustrated, you let them be frustrated. But I know, they're gonna figure it out for sure. I mean, obviously he's a great player, so I know they're gonna give him the ball. So they're gonna fix it, but not next week.
Philadelphia's whole entire problem with Surtain, besides the fact that he is obviously the defending defensive player of the year and probably the best cornerback we've seen in a very long time, is the fact that he has not given up a single deep catch through 4 games this season. So in Philadelphia likes to throw often to A.J. Brown to get drives going, or in case of the Rams game, when they finally need a big play. Instead, offensive coordinator Ken Patullo is going to have to get A.J. Brown involved, utilizing crossing routes, and even, dare I say, the all-elusive rub routes to help scheme Brown and Devontae Smith open against Denver's heavy man-coverage-centric defense. Definitely easier said than done. He's not been able to do it through 4 weeks. We'll see. But I did find Jason Kelce's take on Denver's man focus behind Surtain to at least be a little promising when he explained what he expects this week on WIP.
I'll say this. I hope they do that, because 9 times out of 10, if they're matching one guy with another guy, they're playing a lot of man coverage. And if you look at the Eagles versus man coverage and Jalen Hurts, they have just annihilated teams. The types of defenses we have struggled with have been more zone coverage based. So while that might hinder AJ's production as an offense and as a team, bring the man on, baby. I think you put man against our team and the players that we have and the quarterback and what he brings to the table, I feel very confident in the Eagles having success against that.
Philadelphia likely did not want to face Denver in Week 5 after coming off of what happened in Week 4 because all eyes are going to be on A.J. Brown and the offense to get going, but it's against a very, very good Denver defense led by Vance Joseph. Still, they have opportunities. If they can run the football like Jonathan Taylor did, set up the pass, hopefully they'll be able to go ahead and figure things out. But I do think us Eagle fans, we need to see just solid offensive football for more than just 2 quarters. They cannot be hot and cold on Sunday. They can have drives where they punt. Obviously, they don't have to score every single time. But 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out in the entire first half, it's not going to work. Bird fans know it. A win is a win. And I, of course, preach that all the time. Just look good on Sunday. Look like you know what you're doing. Which, of course, is something myself and Josh Davis talked about a ton during our weekly live stream earlier in the week. If I was Ken Patullo, and I was listening to all the criticism as I drove to work on sports radio, and I was watching the Thomas Mott show and the Philly Special show, and I was hearing everybody say that you're the problem and that you're not opening things up. I would then go to Sirianni and I would go to Jalen Hurts and be like, all right, this whole conservative thing you want me to do, if they're telling him to do it, he's not doing it by himself, who knows? Let's just try it for a week. Great opportunity versus Denver. You got Patrick Surtain on the other end. You got 2 great edge rushers coming at you with Denver. They have a good linebacker core. Shout out Alex Singleton. Let's just try and light them up. Let's just see. And if Jalen throws for 3 picks and they struggle, then you go, okay, well, I tried it. Let's pump the brakes. Maybe don't blame me now. But what happens if they start carving it up? Then you look like a genius. That's the thing. Ken Patullo is essentially have his 17 more games to get a head coaching job in the NFL. One of 32 options that only 32 human beings get every single year. It's extremely elite. And we know Eagle offensive coordinators who go deep in the playoffs and show us that they can coach, they get head coaching jobs because all eyes are on Philly. So if I was KP, open it up. Let me just show the world what I have, and then I'll be the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars next year or whatever it is. I just am shocked they haven't gotten to that point yet. Maybe this weekend they will.
Yes, and they have. Again, it's like it's the most frustrating thing in the world. And I think I said this on the last video that I did. We've maybe mentioned it on some live streams. If you saw nothing up to this point, then it would be, for one, yes, sound the alarms, but then you're like, I don't know. I don't know if my expectations are meeting the reality of this thing. And then we have real issues. We've seen it, and then we see how much worse it gets, and it's like, what's going on? Why is it so good but why can't we live in a middle ground here, right? Because they're going to go some ebbs and flows. There's going to be some adjustments from teams. You give other teams credit because they're also in the NFL. They have good players, but you see it for a half against Dallas. Now the defense played terrible, but for the first half, the offense was unstoppable. And then same thing for Kansas City. You have the ebbs and flows. The Rams obviously took until the second half to do anything, and then the vice versa, or the script was flipped against the Bucs. It's just infuriating. The one benefit is, or the one area that you still can point to is the Eagles are 100% in the red zone. So
they are what they are. Yes.
So Kevin Patullo, he does have one thing figured out. Give him some credit. He knows what to do in a condensed area of the field. I don't know if it's like, hey, we got too many options here. It's in a longer field. We have too many things we can run. But whatever it is, he's shown some things that he knows what he's doing. The underhanded toss, the option play to Dallas Goedert. I mean, it had me all worked up in the live stream because it's like, are you serious? What is that? So he's got some creativity. They just can't go away from that. I'm totally with you. Let's see. Got a couple other super chats here. Christopher Michael with the 5. We're lucky we haven't lost multiple games. The lack of consistent O has been a problem since Nick has been here. Hate it, but AJ's gone after this year.
It's true that we could have lost games. That's every team. I mean, come on. The Rams should have lost their game this past week. You got to be grateful for any win in the National Football League, but don't stay complacent. I think that's what the super chat is saying. AJ being gone in the offseason. Listen, the AJ Brown trade idea. The main problem is the dead cap money. It's about $30 million because pre-June, when they were talking about it, in March for the pre-draft, they were going to trade him. There was that report out of Boston, like, hey, he's going to be a Patriot. It was like $90 million. Post-June, it's like $30 million. Still a lot of dead cap money. And I just don't think Philadelphia would eat $30 million in dead cap money unless A.J. Brown just goes on like an unhinged trade me or else sort of situation. And A.J. is just not really that guy, right? He'll chirp and he'll tweet and he'll do his thing. We've seen it the past 3 years. But he's never like, hey, trade me, I ain't playing, blah, 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 blah. So I don't think he's going to be traded. I don't think he gets traded next year. I think the possibility is obviously higher than right now. But I do think Philadelphia understands that you take A.J. Brown off this field and defenses play the Birds a lot differently. And that's nothing against Devontae Smith or Saquon Barkley. But as Steve Spagnuolo told Greg Cosell summer of last year or summer of this year, stop Saquon. You can scheme against the run if you really want to. You cannot scheme against A.J. Brown because he's that physically dominant. He's really the best receiver in the National Football League, I think. I think if you were to line them all up and give them all an equal offense, an equal offensive coordinator, and, everything, I think he would be number one. I think that there are some other very good ones. Just Jefferson, Puka Nacua, Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think A.J. Brown has everything that you look for in a receiver. So will they trade him in the offseason? I don't know. But if they win a bunch of games this year and he starts to go off in the postseason and the end of the season like he did after being upset and reading a book on the sideline last year, then, we probably won't be having this conversation. So I think it's all a little bit overblown. And I think that we got to wait and see what AJ says today. I think he's going to talk to the media probably around 4 o'clock after practice. They're going to try, and we'll have to wait and see.
See if he's there. Get any more insights or more reasonings to what he meant by the tweet. I'm sure there'll be probably not a whole lot of element to it, but we'll see if he gives any extra reasons for it or what he was meaning specifically about the offense, if that was directed towards anybody. I'm just, I'm ready to move on with everybody. If look, they get the offense.
Oh, I'm too.
AJ Brown.
I'm ready to move on. Yep.
Is it this week against Denver? Who knows? The benefit is that Denver does play a lot of man coverage, so that helps AJ Brown. He's obviously the best receiver in the NFL against man coverage. Patrick Surtain, that's not the benefit. That's the other part to it. But if he gets any looks that are not PS2, it should be like an automatic. It should be like, hey, okay, we got man coverage here. Great. Where's PS2? Okay, the other side. Oh, hey, you want Riley Moss against AJ? Sure. Yes, we're going to throw it there all day, every day. So it shouldn't be that difficult when you see man coverage. And also, I was going to say, too, we were talking about the NFC real quickly a moment ago about just the standings and where they're at and everything there. The Detroit Lions, also one other team to keep in mind.
Sure.
But still, looking at them, I think that the Eagles, and it's so early here, I know, but just looking at schematically what the Lions run and how they play, I think the Eagles match up really well with the Lions because
I think they do.
Talk of running man coverage. The Lions play man coverage on defense more than the Broncos do. Like they're up there near one of the top. And if you want to, help this offense get right, it's play man coverage because it becomes a little bit more of a, well, we got just better guys. And, as great as the Lions have been offensively, defensively, they're hurting. I mean, they are really hurting, especially when it comes to stopping the pass. You've seen it against teams that do have weapons versus not. And ultimately, I know we're going to play them earlier in the season in week 11. So Yeah, I think we'll get a good test there, but the Lions, you can put them up there with one of those teams, but I think it's Lions, Packers, Rams, but nobody's fully figured it out. I don't think you look across the board and say, well, wow, there's like a juggernaut team. And that's the case every year because this is practically for a lot of teams, not everyone, but practically for a lot of teams, this is kind of like the end of the preseason. We've gotten 4 weeks in.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Finally, getting into a rhythm. You figure out what works, what doesn't work, where you need to make adjustments. From here on out, it's like, okay, we got our legs under us. There shouldn't be anybody, should have already happened by now, but shouldn't be anybody who's tired or fatigued or needing it to round into shape like Jalen Carter, things like that. It's, what you do, what you don't do well. You need to make some of those adjustments, but it's game on from here out.
Yeah.
Advocate with the 10, appreciate that. The 10 bomb says, hey guys, here's a lesson from the corporate sector. Hope is not a strategy. Paterno was a bad hire. 4 weeks in.
Listen, 4 weeks in, I think he was a bad hire. I mean, I don't think anyone's going to tell you he was a good hire so far, but I do think you got to take the whole season concept. I don't think a lot of people liked Kellen Moore through 4 games. I mean, 2-2, and that Bucs offensive performance. We talked about the defense getting torched by Baker last year. The offense was really, really bad. And so I think that we can give him the benefit of the doubt. He's obviously won 4 games, whereas Moore was 2-2. And it's not like Moore dominated the entire rest of the season. They just figured things out to get to the postseason. But I think that we still have to give him time and grace because he is 4-0. But I do think we can say that and in the same sentence say the leash is pretty short. I mean, he has got to figure things out very quickly. And so, I'm hopeful, which you said we shouldn't do if we're in the corporate world. Thankfully, Josh and I are not in the corporate world anymore. And so we can hope a little bit here in the YouTube world, but we can understand where you're coming from and be like, hey, it's got to look better starting this week. They cannot go 0 completions in a quarter. Not even a half, in a quarter this week, or else people are going to lose their minds, and rightfully so. I do think Philadelphia is going to win this football game. I'm not trying to tell you that they're not going to win this game, but it is a very good defense. They must pass block well and find a way to get A.J. Brown open. This is a great opportunity for Kevin Patullo to show the entire Eagle fan base, I know what I'm doing. I've been slowly working things up to this point. I got the 1 month behind me underneath my belt. Now I'm going to unleash this offense. And if he does that on Sunday versus the Denver Broncos, everybody is going to buy back into what he's been preaching literally in a heartbeat. But if they struggle again, win or lose, if they struggle again on offense, people are really going to freak out. And I just hope we don't even have to deal with that. I want a clean week in the media. I want a clean game of football. And I want to be 5-0 heading into a short week on Thursday night versus the New York Giants on the road at MetLife Stadium. Now, time for the winner of the Jordan Spector Art Jalen Hurts piece right here. We're doing this stuff all season long. Really, we have a giveaway every single week from Jordan Spector. And that winner, randomly selected as usual, was on my video 2 days ago, and it was U.S. Army Vet 91. So U.S. Army Vet, you have won. Link down below in my description box. Send me an email, screenshot proving that you're logged into your account, and all the details are down there to get in contact with me, and I'll get this bad boy sent out. Of course, be one of the people to correctly predict the final touchdown score, plus the Birds win, and I'll draw one of you guys to win another one of these bad boys at the end of our live stream tomorrow. So more opportunities, more giveaways as usual, coming out tomorrow around 12:45 when myself and Josh Davis do stream the game. I'm pumped. You don't see Denver that often. This is going to be very, very interesting at Lincoln Financial Field. I'm Thomas Mott. This has been the Thomas Mott Show.